Now, in this chapter on being still, once you notice it, he actually lists, I think it's seven steps to this process. And he starts by saying first. And when you find number 2, a couple pages later, it says the second point to understand is, and when you find number 3, page after that, it says after you've done the first one and the second one, then the third is, it doesn't have headings in here, so you have to kind of work to find it. But once you see it, it's very, very useful. Then you have to go like 3 pages later or so to find number 4. And he calls it fourth. Literally he says, but it's in the text, it doesn't have. So if you're reading this book, I suggest you go through and find those and mark it in the column and simply write the number in. And on number 5, it says in the body of the paragraph, this is the 5th principle. And for number 6, he says 6th principle. So when you find it, if you just write the number in the column, it will help remember what they are. It will help you remember what they are and then to see it more clearly. So going through the numbers, the first thing to learn is regularity or consistency in one's practice. To do this, one should form the habit of sitting quietly once or twice a day at the same time. For learning to be still, it's important to find a comfortable and steady pose, either on a chair or on the floor. Steadiness comes when one keeps the head, neck, and trunk in a straight line. It is better to sit correctly for 5 minutes twice a day than to sit once a week for an hour. A few minutes every day. And then he lists some of the postures that can be used, and this includes sitting in a chair. So there's several postures, and the key to them all is that the head, neck, and trunk is straight and in alignment. So this is step 1. When you come over to step 2, a few pages later, the second point to understand and observe in learning to be still is that it is necessary to cultivate patience with oneself. Suppose one wants to sit calmly, but since he has never learned to do this, he can only sit for 2 minutes before his mind starts jumping around. He changes his posture, tries again to be still, and changes his posture again. One should accept this. Failure is the pillar of success, provided one takes advantage of the situation and learns from it. The first 2 minutes is sufficient. The first day, 2 minutes is sufficient. Just 2 minutes. Being patient. No hurry. Ramaji points out, it is said in the scriptures that if one can sit still, straight, and comfortable with a perfectly one-pointed mind for just 10 minutes, he can attain samadhi. But sitting still for 10 minutes doesn't mean jumping or sitting still for a minute, jumping around for 30 seconds, and then sitting still for another minute. It means sitting still, perfectly still, for 10 minutes. But that's good news. Then we turn a page and we come to number 3. If the first step in developing stillness is to make it a daily habit, and the second is being patient with oneself, then the third is practicing constant observation. One should learn to observe his capacity. Although one may like to practice sitting, sometimes in the beginning of developing this habit, the mind will say, "What am I doing? This is silly. Nobody in our culture does this. Why should I be still? This is a foolish idea," mind says. "Why don't I just get up and have a Coke?" But no matter what culture or religion one comes from, he should learn to be still for the sake of his health. If one really follows these principles, there will be no problem. One should understand from the very beginning that stillness is essential, because one cannot attain meditation until he can be still. To make one's body still means to make his mind active. And when finally one begins calming down his conscious mind, he finds that the unconscious mind is activated, rushing in with memories, thoughts, and feelings, many of which were previously suppressed. In the process of meditation, one first contacts the conscious part of his mind and learns of body-mind interaction. The conscious mind is that which one uses in his daily life during the waking state. By sitting in a particular place, using the same posture, holding the head, neck, and trunk aligned, observing one's thoughts as they emerge, one is slowly able to begin to contact and calm the conscious mind and body. At this stage, one should pay attention to the body tremors and muscle tensions, consciously releasing any muscular tightness that is perceived. And remember that this third section is on practicing constant observation. So now he's describing what that means. And he says, later, as the conscious mind and body begin to rest, the unconscious mind becomes activated and emerges into awareness. And what do we do with that? It's still part of this constant observation practice. Goes on to say here, he's still in this section, when the mind is flying around here and there, it will be very helpful to practice breath awareness. This is very important, for the breath is very closely related to the conscious mind. They are interdependent. When the breath stops, the conscious mind fails, and that is called death. One can train and regulate the mind by being aware of his breathing, for breathing is the lamp that lights the path to increased awareness. By simply learning to observe the breathing process, one can reach a deep state of meditation. Let the mind be aware of the breath and watch how it flows. If one can do this for 3 minutes, only 3 minutes, without any diversion, it will bring good results. Besides observing the breath, one should also be aware of the sensitivity of the nervous system. And we come to number 4. The first principle of learning to be still is regular practice. The second is patience. The third is observation. And the fourth is analysis. It is true that one must understand himself from within to attain a state of perfection. But analysis is not sufficient to transform the personality. After analysis comes discrimination to make a proper decision. One should never determine to do something unless he has explored all the consequences and has chosen the best alternative for his development. So he doesn't say much about the fourth one, but it's analysis. It means seeing the way in which the contents of the conscious and unconscious mind are functioning in relation to the body and on their own. Elsewhere he talks a lot more about the nature of this analysis as contemplation.